So Unseen is a 10-week program spearheaded by SAW, which is an exploration of the audio and visual communication. So obviously during this time of pandemic, we've had to do a lot of our communication via the screen. And as an arts organisation, our gallery has been closed. So this made us really think about how we communicate together as humans and as artists. So we've set up this 10-week program, which is kind of like an audio guided artistic relay race. We started 6 weeks ago with an audio file delivered to our first artist, Sharon, and she made an artwork inspired by that audio file. She didn't have any visual information. She based that artwork just on what she heard. She created a visual artwork which she discussed with us, but she didn't pass on that visual artwork to the next artist. She recorded a description of it. So we've had, over the past 6 weeks, this kind of audio describing and visual making going on and on and on, because we want to explore what it means to be in an art gallery and an arts organisation in a time where we actually can't physically be together, and we're either listening to each other or seeing artworks on the screen. So I'd like to welcome Erika, who is our 6th artist. Erika is a printmaker, and she's particularly interested in kind of Mexican popular prints, and also how print can have an impact politically, which is something which SAW is also really very, very interested in. And she has based our artwork on our previous artist's audio file, Can Be, which we will hear at the end of this discussion. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share a few images of Erika's work, and then we're going to discuss it. Now, obviously, we're sharing this on a screen, and I think that is interesting part of Unseen is we're seeing everything on a screen, and I would ask you to consider how this kind of changes our perception of the artwork. But I'd also invite you to spend a long time looking at the artwork. When we see things on a screen, we're so used to kind of flicking past them and absorbing information very, very quickly. I'm going to try and disrupt that and leave the images on the screen for quite a long time so you can look at them in detail. And then we'll kind of move to time of questioning. So I'm going to try and share my screen. If you could nod to tell me that the technology is working, that would be ace. So hopefully you all saw 4 or 5 lovely pictures of Erika's work. So we're now going to have a kind of discussion about the work. So feel free to kind of raise your hand or shout out or whatever your preferred option is. You can also use the chat at the bottom if you prefer that. But I probably won't. I'll be looking at it, but I can't respond instantly. So Erika, firstly, thank you so much for taking part in Unseen. We really enjoyed kind of working with you and seeing your kind of fresh perspective on Ken's audio piece that she shared. How have you found the process? Was it enjoyable or challenging or?
When you guys invited me, I immediately thought, yes, let's do it. It completely takes me out of my comfort zone. I'm not very used to in working within my own practice. I'm not used to working with other people. I've always worked on my own, and I mean, saying that, I've always working within the printmaking workshop, so you're always getting ideas from people, bouncing ideas from people, but my work always comes from my own ideas, which I develop, and they take me years to develop. And these, I basically had 2 weeks, and that was super challenging for me, especially because I work full time, and as I said, I'm a mom. I'm a single mom as well, so there's very little time for me to do research and to work on my artwork. So having 2 weeks to have a finished idea, which is, no, you didn't ask for a finished idea, but to have an idea was great. I loved the idea that it was an audio, because I could base a lot of my artwork from reading things, so I can understand that relationship between reading something and developing work from there, but not from listening. So I thought I had to make an exercise out of it. So I heard Ken's audio the first time, and then I wrote down what I could remember from it, and then I left time pass, and then I heard it again, and then I wrote down other words that I remembered, and I did it a third time, and some words kept coming back, some were new. I could hear different things, or my head could retain different things. And then after doing that exercise, I heard her piece and then wrote down my words, not Ken's words, but my words. And I wrote identity, time, fragment, and one more, I can't remember. And from there, I wanted to develop a collage. That's the first thing I thought. I'll work with collage, and I will have a look at, I thought I'm gonna have a look at my pictures, my photographs, to see what I can take from there, start building up from there. And then I realized that my identity at the moment has been pretty much based on the fact that I'm a Mexican living in Newcastle, and it has been like that for a long time, since I arrived to Newcastle. So I thought it would be very interesting to take the years I have, to start off with the years since I arrived to Newcastle until now, and have a look at those photographs of the time I have spent here. It became extremely personal. This work, usually I work with subject matters that relate to identity, like before, but identity that not necessarily it's my identity. So I've worked with Mexican subcultures. So I've studied different types of subcultures in Mexico. But I don't tend to do work about myself. I've done it. It became extremely cleansing and personal. And yeah, I think COVID times have made that introspection quite obvious and quite, yeah, quite a statement. And I think that reflects on the piece I've made. I think I couldn't decide which photographs to choose. So I've decided to have printed the whole year in one A4 sheet. And those little squares that are inside the glass tubes, that they're encapsulated as a yearly time. They were cut, and each tiny picture was placed inside that yearly capsule. So we have since 2005 until now, each year. Now, if you paid attention to the images, you see I didn't finish. I don't have the last 6 years, because it actually takes a long time to cut all those little squares and to place them inside the capsule. So they're all placed on what it should be a ceramic piece plate, but it's not, because I didn't have the time. So I've made it like a maquette of I used a mount board and like laser cut an image of a Mixteco plate. So the Mixtecos were the people that lived in Mexico City. So they're the indigenous group that live there, and that's where I'm from. So I'm from Mexico City, and I wanted to have something as a base that held those 15 years. So my identity of where I come from, where are my roots, and then that the legs that hold that ceramic are wooden legs, and I've kind of modified the symbol of the complete cycle, and I just cut it off a little bit. So there's this kind of wooden piece where there's like, it almost becomes like a moon. Also Mexico, it's called the belly button of the moon. So I wanted also to make that reference of a broken cycle of life and the belly button of the moon. So this structure holds the years that I've been here, and you realize how time flies. Time can be encapsulated. And after this exercise, as I see it, it's almost yeah, letting go.
Yeah, it's been a really tough time, and your work is really, really rich, and to see that those kind of encapsulation of those memories is really powerful. And that's been an interesting thread running through all the artists' works, that they've all picked on something to do with memory. And I find it really interesting in your work, in order to start it, you almost made like a memory game, which is interesting because Ken's work, last week she was talking about how she's talking about childhood games and memories associated with that. So I find it really interesting. Your first response was to kind of create a bit of a memory game with that. Yeah. But so you're really affected by making it. I think
I must also say that right now I'm going through immigration process.
Oh,
It makes it really difficult.
yeah.
Lorna.
Thank you, Erika. Thank you for sharing and for how moving and personal the work is. I feel like that you've been really generous with your practice and sharing through your practice about yourself and since 2005. And I feel like I've got this connection with you because I came to Newcastle in 2005 as well, and I was your first cohort at Newcastle. So that feels really nice to feel like I'm a part of your history and what you've represented in some tiny little way. So it's really nice for me to see that. But also what I thought was interesting was that this whole connection that has been had with memory going through unseen. It reminds me, and if I've found this out through the course of listening to Unseen, then stop me from sharing this. But I feel like someone has told me that when you listen to a story or something, an account of something, and then you have to remember it, you're very likely to change details in the story for things that connect with your own life experience. So it's interesting that that's sort of what you've done or what other people have done. So like what I mean is like if you hear a story and say somebody said a story about something their brother did and I try to remember that, I don't have a brother, I might think that the story said my sister instead because I have a sister. So how things change over time because of you trying to remember things. So I just thought that was interesting that in many ways we're seeing these little footprints of every person that's been involved, and it's really a joy to me to see how personal these have all been, and particularly yours, Erika. It's just, I think something, maybe the pandemic has changed or because we are sharing online, I'm not sure, maybe it allows us to feel a bit more open, but it feels as though people are giving more of themselves, and there's maybe because we have this sort of shared trauma of COVID to talk about, it feels like people are being really generous. And I echo what Ken said on the chat of like, I want to give you a hug. Like, I feel like I want to give everybody a hug. Yeah, sorry, that's my waffle.
Thank you, Lorna.
Okay. Oh, sorry, one more thing. That mysterious red light as well is incredible. Like, where's the red light source coming from?
Oh, I'm really glad you noticed, because to me it's also very important. It reflects, it's light. I think life is light, and that's what it is. This is my life, and it's a bright light. It's not a white light. It's a orange bright one, because I see myself like that, and it's almost makes things hover. Hover, is that right? Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
So I wanted that effect. I wanted to kind of like make it. So I just painted with luminescent orange red underneath, and you get that effect. Any fluorescent paint will create that effect. If you have it on a white background, it works really, really nice.
That's amazing. I thought it was an actual powered light. You've given away a trade secret there. That's cool.
Yeah. I actually like doing that a lot also with paper, with prints. So I paint on the back with fluorescent and just hang the prints a bit off, so it looks like there's light coming from the print.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thanks for noticing that. I wasn't sure if people could see that.
Yeah, definitely.
That is really, really cool to have, you know, floating light up prints from paint. Paint turns into light, one substance turns into another. Audio turns into a visual, physical object. I feel more and more that this program is about it's based about transformation, transforming one thing into another and into another. But you have these threads of kind of memory or childhood running through, and I think that's what's really surprised me about this program. And that kind of thread of a lot of the artists have said when they've listened to the other artists' audio, how intimate it's felt. And that kind of intimacy of memories and intimacy of how we express them and share them with people, I think is something really exemplified in your work, Erika.
I struggle with the audio, to be honest, and I struggled recording it because when I record it, it was 7 minutes. And it's meant to be 2 minutes, and I was just like blah 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 blah. And I had to edit it, so I'm not very sure that, you know, what I edited, it was any kind of helpful for the next person. I hope it was, but yeah, I'm not very good at recording, or, you know, I can tell the difference of how inexperienced I am in trying to verbalize things, or, you know, I also struggle with writing. You know, it takes me forever to write things down. So I can see that, you know, where my comfort sits is it's in the making rather than in audio or writing. And yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of this is pressure. A lot of artists out their comfort zone, and the artist in me feels a bit guilty for that. But also, the curator in me sees the artist be really kind of enlivened by that, and it brings out new works. I think it is really exciting. I think we've got a technical question from Sarah White, which is, was there a particular way you cut the photos or particular choices that you made, just thinking through the kind of process of cutting? I guess the labor of cutting, that's a big thing to do.
Yeah, I actually decided to make them 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, so that I could still see them and I could still reference them. The quality of, when you go down, you lose quality as well, as much as when you go big. So going tiny makes an image go funny as well in their pixelation. What was really interesting is that if I showed it to you guys, you would see more colors. It becomes even more abstract. But I know what photo it is. I can clearly, like my eyes clearly see the photograph. Well, other people might not see it. I see it, and I know. Might not know exactly which year it was, but if I see them, and the nice thing is that I can actually take them off I want it to be able to, for people to take it off and actually have a look at it, and kind of turn it around. So the decisions I made was that they had to be like 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. I had to cut them by hand, and it was a bit a faff because I'm getting old and I can't see very well anymore. But that's what I was spending my evenings from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. I was cutting, and then I would use a knife, and then I would use scissors to cut like that, and that's what I did. And then I realized that when I placed them inside the tubes, they were so many, so I had to, and also you could see the white on the back of the paper, so I had to glue them to have less space, and visually when you see them, you don't see the white, so you see picture. So that's why I didn't finish. because it was just taking way too long. And yeah, so it's
the photograph.
That's a lot of work. Am I being heard?
I think Sarah's trying to say something, and I think she's
Sorry, I feel like my connection's not very good. Can you not hear me?
Oh, we can now.
Oh, okay. So are the images shrunk down, or is it like one photograph that's been dissected? I think into squares.
No, it's one. So I took photographs of every year. So I have them on my photos on my Mac, and each year, you know how they come in big chunks. So I took a screenshot of each year, and then I made them fit in an A4 photographic paper. So
I think what I was trying to imagine was like what was on each
photo. It's a tiny, each tiny thing. It's one different image.
Right, okay. I think I was trying to imagine what images are appearing
Actually,
in that square. That
I
makes
can
more
show
sense.
you
Thank
because
you.
I actually, do you mind, could I share screen or not?
I think we can do that. Can Lydia?
I've made you a co-host.
Okay, yeah.
Because I can show you, I took pictures of the process and maybe that can help. So share. Can I, am I sharing now?
No, I'll remove the
No.
spotlights. I don't know if that's.
Maybe that.
Yeah.
So if you see these, this is 1 year in pictures, and I cut each one. Each one, and I'll show you because I also took pictures of. Can you see that?
I think so. We can only see the file with the lots of the little images, and we can't see the individual image you're clicking on.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll stop sharing because. Yeah.
So if you were putting this in an exhibition, would you put pictures of the collage of pictures that you've cut up on the walls with it, or would you feel that?
No, I would present the piece itself. So that
No, it's not.
if I was doing an exhibition with that piece, it would be a ceramic piece, the top, the wooden what do you call them?
Legs.
Holding legs. Yeah, the wooden legs would be exactly the same, and these will be placed as you saw them in the picture on top of that plate. But people would be able to take them off, have a look, and put them back in.
And you've been on the some of the other sessions, haven't you?
Yeah.
So I wonder, did the idea of putting things in little pots, do you think that was influenced at all by the very first artist with her domes?
No, because I think what she did with it is different. I think she used it as a projection way rather than holding something physical. I think it has more to do with the idea of the museum, of things coming, the base of everything coming from the national galleries. Maybe that statement, she actually mentioned that. So maybe, yeah, it's related to that, but not necessarily her piece.
No, I was just thinking
it's quite different.
Transparent holdingness of it.
Yeah, I think it comes from the idea of a museum.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Lydia, and then maybe Daisy can.
I just wanted to ask about this ceramic and you wanting to do that in ceramics, is because you said it was a symbol of Mexico City, if I'm correct. Was the like ceramic bowl or plate, is that something that is traditional to the area, or is it just you wanted it in? Why did you want it in that material?
Because it is actually a ceramic plate. The original image is in a ceramic plate. And it comes from the Mixteca indigenous culture from Mexico City. So I actually went and had a look on the Anthropology Museum, and I kind of wanted to choose the plate that I would make it hold on. Obviously, the wooden legs are not part of the plate. That's something that I've kind of added to it. But I think that a red clay would look really nice with that birch wood. It would suit it really nicely. I'm still considering on laser cutting on the clay I haven't done that. I've never tried it, but I'm going to see if I can experiment with that.
Would you do that after it had been in the kiln or while it's?
Yeah, well, it shouldn't be glazed at all, and yeah, after it's been in the kiln, I would give it a try. But I haven't experimented, so it will be nice to see if I can do it. Baby D.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's a bit loud in London. You might have a few sirens that go straight past. It's very impressive that you made such a cool work within like two weeks, did you say? And when I first saw it, I did think that there was something about memory in it, because kind of in the center of the plate, there's like an image you can't really make out. It's almost as if you've drawn it from your head because you've seen something or you've heard something, and it's not from sight. Maybe I just didn't get what the image was, but it felt like that. And also I feel like there was something quite, I mean, I only know this and I had to Google it just to make sure I didn't make a fool out of myself. But the Mexican calendar is circular, and it feels like there's a lot to do with time about it anyway, because of the references, I guess, to the culture around the plate, or it felt like that. And it's really interesting how that there's almost like a juxtaposition of very technical memories being printed out and being jarred almost with such like an ancient historical technical way of recording time. So there's like the photographs, which you've got the digital data of technically a recording of your time, and then also it's almost like it's cemented in this like ancient history, which you are kind of a fleeting part of, without to sound blasé or anything, but you're from this sort of whole culture. And it's then, I felt like the orange was almost like a great way to sort of bring in the emotional side of it, because the orange makes you feel, and it's also very warm. It's also, in my opinion, very Mexican. And it just felt like when it was reflecting, there was more of an ambience to it, so that you have like all this data together technically, and then you kind of feel at home almost. But I wondered how much you'd planned it and how much it was kind of like going along the way.
To be honest, I planned everything because I didn't have time in the making. So, you guys know, if you don't have much time, you better plan. You better plan and organize and make sure that your ideas are clear. I'm going to be honest, it didn't start, when I started the plan, it didn't start with the small tube. It started with these. So the idea obviously did change, but changed in one day. Like I had to plan things in one day. And I did have to buy materials, which meant that I had to order stuff and wait for it to arrive before I could actually make stuff, which takes time of making. So I did have to plan. Sorry. I did have to plan everything. Yeah. Everybody say hello to Irene. Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, I'll be out.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything was very much planned that way. The only thing that, little things, obviously in the making, little things happen, like, oh no, they don't fit. I have to glue them, and it looks awful to have them the white. So, those things, yeah. I mean, again, this is an exercise because this doesn't work. I can't put what I've made anywhere. Like, I could only photograph it and send it to you guys. I'm not putting that anywhere. If I'm gonna exhibit something, I will need to make it properly, But it wasn't possible in 2 weeks. For me, it's not possible in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Erika. Yeah, you've done a lot of work in 2 weeks, I have to say. And we did say to our artists, don't worry if it's not complete, if it's a maquette, that's okay, because we realised, people have work and other pressures on their life. And yeah, so well done for making something so amazing and so rich in depth kind of meaning and visually stunning as well. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to listen to the audio that Erika based her work on, so Ken's audio. So we'll just spend 2 minutes listening to that, and then we'll probably wrap up with any kind of last minute questions. I will finish at 1 because Erika has things to do. I have meetings to go to and stuff, but yeah, we'll just do that now. So Lydia, you could share that, that would be amazing.
I'm short-sighted. I need wearing glasses. But these few years, I like to take it off while I'm walking on the street, in the wood, doing sport, trying to feel what I can't see clearly from different part of my body. I got to ask, how do we draw the memory, preserve and present? Is very difficult for me as a human. I do more recording on video and taking picture because it's getting too much happening for us, and this type of remembering helps. And I do find the nature is the biggest museum. When the season changing, it's like collection changing in the museum or gallery. At the same time, I think recently we do more street exhibition. The protesting is a live rejection on unjusted, and we are crying for change. We need to learn from history. But how do we have restful time?
Thank you. Does anyone have any kind of last minute questions for Erika or about the project as a whole? Everyone's gone quiet.
I just wanted to say thank you for being so honest and personal in your work. I think that is often very difficult when you, especially you're doing it in a group of not everybody who you know, and it's often easier to do that when you just have your work in an exhibition. You don't have to talk to anyone about it, but actually when we are not seeing it in the flesh and you have to explain it on the screen, that's a lot harder. So I wanted to say thank you, because that I really appreciate when people are honest. And
yeah, I'm not very sure I'm very good at making artwork about myself. I wouldn't be Tracy and Emin at all talking about my life, because I think I would be crying all the time. I think I'd rather just do work about other people's problems. It's just easier. But it was such a great exercise, and I think, yeah, I don't know, it's weird why, why I said yes and why I made it, and it's just like there's a reason. I'm just gonna let it flow. So yeah, thank you guys for inviting me to do it. So yeah. I had no.
Yeah, we were really overjoyed that you said yes, and obviously you worked with Saul before, and amazing Day of the Dead celebrations about 4 years ago, which people still come up to me and mention and say how amazing it was. So just thank you so much for being such a joy to work with, and also, as Lydia said, just really honest about the struggles you had and with making it work. Yes, Ken.
Yeah, I just noticed it's Erika, you're the one who help the Day of the Dead exhibition, and that is the moment that really helped me to grieve. together with people around me. Yeah, thank you. And the bright color, and now I see the artists. I know I see you. Thank you. And I agree with you. It's better to, it's much easier. It's not much easier. It's easier to deal with other people's problem than yourself. It is. And I'm feeling so bad to listen to my own recording. I don't know where to put my own face, and I feel bad to stop the video. Anyway, I hope you understand what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And I agree that it's so difficult to make the recording. I done 5 minutes the first time, and then I don't know how to edit it, so I need to repeat and repeat.
Yeah. Yeah, don't worry. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, recording is very, very tricky. Yeah, so I think I'm going to wrap up now just because we're getting close to 1. But thank you so much for everyone who's taken part and asked brilliant questions. We will be meeting here again, exactly the same time, exactly the same Zoom link, and we will be talking to Francesca, who will be basing her work on Erika's audio. Francesca is a dance artist, so she's going to be bringing something really interesting and unique, again, like all the artists we've had, to Unseen. So please join us for that. And if you're interested in Saw or anything to do with Saw, just email me directly. Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, for coming. I'm just going to wish you goodbye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.